Hello friends, today we're making banana bread cinnamon rolls. Let's get started. You're going to bloom your yeast in 1 cup of warm milk. Then you're going to stir it up and set it aside until it starts to foam. In a medium bowl, I am going to be mashing my 2 large ripe bananas. For this, you can use a fork or a potato masher. I like to use a potato masher because I think it gets the job done just quicker. After you're done mashing your bananas, you're going to add in your sugar, your vanilla, and your melted butter. The complete recipe will be in the description box, so don't you worry. This mixture here is going to add in all of the flavor and add extra softness to your cinnamon rolls. In your stand mixer, you are going to add in 3 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, now you'll add in your banana mixture, which will add in the flavor and the moisture into the dough. And lastly, you'll add in your yeast and milk. I was just showing you how my yeast had bloomed. So I went ahead and let this blend up for about 3 to 5 minutes. Then I started adding in my additional 2 cups of flour. You might need about 5.5 cups. I think I use a total of 5.25 cups. Of course, this all depends on your climate and the temperature outside, but definitely be sure to scrape down your sides of your stand mixer. If you are enjoying this video, I would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing so I can get to my first 1,000 subscribers. So when I was done mixing all together and blending and kneading, I just took it out of my stand mixer. I didn't even knead it. I just rolled it into a ball. After that, you're going to transfer it into an oil bowl. Here I am just drizzling a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of my bowl. Then I formed my dough into a ball, not kneading or anything of that sort. Covered the bottom, and then I also covered the top, and then I just covered the whole thing up under a towel for about 2 hours until it doubled in size. In a small bowl, I add in my brown sugar, my cinnamon, and some walnuts, and this is going to be for our cinnamon sugar layer. If you like a lot of cinnamon in the middle of your rolls, I would definitely say go ahead and make an additional half of a recipe. So instead of doing this one recipe, you can do 1.5 measurements of this recipe, so you can have a lot of cinnamon in between your rolls. I just did 1 because I also had, the banana mixture. Now we'll prep our countertops with flour so that the dough won't stick when we start to roll it out. So punch your dough down and transfer it onto the floured surface. I like to use my hands at first to help, get an even surface. Then I use my rolling pin to roll it into its shape. Don't forget to flour your rolling pin so that it doesn't stick to your dough. Try to roll your dough as best as you can into a rectangle shape. I aim for about 1/4 inch thick. It's always a little tricky with getting the dough to move the way you want it to. Next, you'll spread your melted butter on the top of your dough. Try not to put any of the butter about 1 inch at the very bottom of your dough. So the longest length of your dough, the bottom of that longest length, you're going to keep that free from butter. This will make it so much more easier when it's time to seal up your rolls together. For the next layer, you are going to mash 2 large ripe bananas, and then you're just going to spread that on top of the melted butter. So just like this, I use my offset spatula. You can use any spatula you have. I'm aiming for an even layer, or as even as possible. The bananas are smashed, so it's really easy to just glide my spatula along the dough. Now you'll sprinkle your cinnamon sugar on top of the bananas. This walnut cinnamon mixture is going to add an extra crunch and again more flavor to our cinnamon rolls. Here I just cut off a slither of dough around the edges of my dough. I'm just taking my time and rolling my dough ever so tightly, not so tight where it pops out when it starts to bake, but a nice roll so that we can get more spirals in the middle of our rolls. When you get to the bottom of your dough, you're going to pinch and try to seal your dough close. So this is why I didn't put the butter at the bottom of my dough. It really helps with sealing the dough close. It makes it just a little more easier to seal. Now you'll cut your log into 12 rolls. I first start by slicing right down the center of the roll. This will help to divide it equally in half. Then I slice each of my halves in half. Then I slice each of those into 3 rolls. When you're done slicing up your rolls, you're going to transfer those into a 9x13 prepared dish. As you can clearly tell, my rolls are definitely not evenly shaped, but they all baked up nice and even, and that's all that really matters. Let these rise in a warm spot for about an hour, hour and a half. They don't have to double in size, but you want them to be nice and plump. I like to spray a plastic wrap before I put a towel over them, just so that the towel doesn't stick to my rolls when they're rising. So go ahead and let those rise. When your rolls are nice and plump, pour your heavy cream all over the tops of your rolls. Then you'll bake those at 350 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. For the cream cheese frosting, blend together your butter, cream cheese, and vanilla. Then gradually add in your powdered sugar. I definitely recommend starting on a low setting so that your powdered sugar doesn't cover your kitchen. But my blender is so powerful, there is no low setting. As soon as I turn it on, it goes straight to blast. There's absolutely no low setting. And here is our frosting, nice and fluffy. Here is a peek inside the oven. Just look at how our rolls are bubbling up with the heavy cream. And here they are, nice and soft and golden. So go ahead and just spread your frosting all over the tops of your rolls. I decided to add a few more walnut pieces on the top of our rolls. Take a look at how soft these are. Very fluffy and soft. When I tell you these were very flavorful, these were super flavorful and very soft for days. Please let me know in the comments if you are going to try this recipe, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!